Hi guys, welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio, and I am super excited to be here because even though it's the final hour of the show, we still have a lot left to talk about. Now, today, or rather in this final hour, we're actually going to focus mainly on Afghanistan because that is a crisis that we need to talk about. That is a crisis that we need to make sure people understand and try their best to help all of these people because it is in fact innocent lives that are being lost. It is in fact innocent people that are bearing the brunt of of some of the indecision, some of the things that other countries have done, right? So it's very important for us to understand this and help all of these people. Okay, so make sure to keep that in mind. Now, if you want to share your thoughts and if you want to share your opinions with me, please make sure to get in touch with me on 078 share your thoughts, share your opinions, and that will be absolutely amazing as well. Okay, so let me know what you're thinking. And don't forget to go follow us on our socials either, because you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And actually make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because that will be absolutely amazing and that will be super helpful as well. Okay, so don't actually forget to do that, and don't forget to download our app either, because the app is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, and you can actually make sure that you are paying attention to all of this, but also making sure that you're listening into the conversation from wherever you are in the world at any time of the day. All right, so don't forget to do that. And now let's actually talk about this offshore settlement for Afghanistan, because that is, what we've been talking throughout the day as well. All right, now we all saw, the situation in Afghanistan. We know how bad it is, and we know how there is so many different types of people who are suffering in Afghanistan because of, because of the Taliban taking control. Right now, I don't specifically want to focus on, a specific group or anything, but let's talk about everyone in general. Right, let's talk about journalists who are at the risk of losing their lives because the Taliban has taken control of Afghanistan, right? Let's also talk about women and their rights, right? For example, how they're not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to have their education. They're not going to be able to work and enjoy their lives the same way they used to back when there was a democratic president, right? When President Ashraf Ghani was in charge, right? And even now, they've been asked to fully cover themselves. So some of the basic freedoms that they had to live within that country has essentially been taken away, right? And because of that, we know that all of the people who live in Afghanistan are in fact going through this crisis. That they're scared for their lives, they're scared for their families, they're scared for their children, and they want to leave as much as possible, right? And if anything, the whole world knows that people who flee Afghanistan are in fact refugees at this point of time. Now, Britain actually plans to establish offshore asylum centers for these Afghan refugees in countries like Pakistan and Turkey, because ministers are actually admitting to the fact that the United Kingdom will actually not be able to rescue those eligible for resettlement before these troops leave Kabul. All right, so that seems to be the problem. The problem is that all of these people who are still stuck in Kabul, who are still stuck in Afghanistan, are actually not the British government is not in fact capable of rescuing all of them, and that's why they want these offshore settlement plans for people basically they want these plans in Pakistan and in Turkey as well. Right now, the Defense Secretary Ben Wallace has actually said in a newspaper article on Sunday that the United Kingdom planned to establish this whole series of processing hubs across the region that is outside Afghanistan, right? And this was for these Afghans. They believe that they have an obligation too. All right, and obviously these are people who have worked with the British Embassy, who have helped in translating, who have helped in interpreting, and people like that. Right now, at least 1,429 Afghans have actually been evacuated from Kabul since last Friday, and this is as part of the Arab relocation scheme that was essentially designed to help interpreters and others who have helped the British during their 20 years in Afghanistan. All right, now it's also estimated that there is in fact a similar number or more that still remains in the country. People who are still stuck in that country, who are trying to flee, but obviously they aren't actually able to do that. Now, the reason they're not able to do that was a few days back the Taliban essentially I mean, they don't control the airport as of right now, but they essentially control all of the pathways that lead to the airport, right? So if people don't have the necessary documents, if people don't have the necessary identification, they're not essentially going to let people pass through, right? Because the truth is, there are so many people that want to leave Afghanistan, right? So if you basically have the entire country leaving Afghanistan, then who are the Taliban supposed to rule, right? And I think that happens to be one of their biggest concerns as well. So it's important for us to keep that in mind while our government is figuring out these relocation schemes, these resettlement schemes that are offshore for these Afghans. It's important to understand and keep in mind that these people still have to be protected, right? Now, like I said, it's estimated that similar, about 1,430 more people are still stuck in the country, and that the emergency airlift that was actually continuing on Sunday, along with the RAF flights operating despite a crush at the airport gates, as desperate Afghans tried to flee. Right. So this was in fact still operating, and the Taliban is pushing people into queues, queues for the for the UK, like that. And hopefully things will get resolved for all of these people who are trying to flee Afghanistan. All right, now make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to discuss more of this. So until then, make sure you stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome back to the show. It is your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio, and I am super excited to be here so I can share my thoughts and opinions with you as well. All right, so make sure to stay tuned. Make sure to share your thoughts and opinions. And don't forget to actually text me on 078-52473-473. Let me know what you are thinking as well, all right? Because I would love to hear everything that you have to say, all right? Now, before we actually head into our conversation with regard to offshore settlement in Afghanistan, I want to very quickly remind you that you can, in fact, go like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and actually, go like us on Facebook, follow us on all of that, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, because that will actually help you stay informed, be informed about all of these things that are happening in the world. Okay, so it's important to keep that in mind as well. And don't forget to download our app either, because that's available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, on both your iOS device and your Android device. And that way you can actually make sure that you're listening into the very latest of conversation, sharing your thoughts, sharing your opinions, and making sure you let us know how you feel about what is happening in Afghanistan. All right, because this issue is not just an issue that is important to the United Kingdom or the United States or to Afghanistan. It's in fact a humanitarian crisis, right? It's important to all of us, because we are trying to make sure that these people have better futures, have better lives, right? So make sure to share your thoughts and opinions with us as well. Okay, now let's actually head into our conversation now. Like I said, at least 1,429 Afghans have been stuck. They've been able to leave the country, but there's in fact a similar amount of people who are still stuck in Afghanistan, right? Now, NATO actually believes that about 20 people have died around the airport in the last week, but Britain's Armed Forces Minister, that is James Heappey, actually said that the flow outside the airport had improved very much, because the Taliban was in fact marshalling people into separate queues for the United States, all right? And they were not just for the United States, but also for the United States evacuation and the UK evacuation as well. Now, a total of 1,721 people, and this includes Britons, Afghans, and people from allied countries, had been evacuated from Kabul on 8 flights in the past 24 hours, right? Now, this is actually what Heappey said. And he also said, with the RAF receiving help from its Australian counterpart in getting people, to safety. So people from Australia, or rather, the Australian counterpart of the RAF has also helped, RAF in their efforts to evacuating refugees from Afghanistan. Right now, British officials have already acknowledged that it is in fact, almost virtually impossible to evacuate people who are coming from outside Kabul, right? Now, although Afghans with a claim have told charity workers that they would risk crossing the country if they knew they had a flight, there is still a lot of uncertainty, and it's almost virtually impossible to evacuate these people. All right. So this also happens to be, one of the biggest problems that are currently there as well, right? Now, this new proposal that the United Kingdom has for this resettlement scheme, it's basically expanded over 5 years, and they're planning to take 20,000 refugees into the country over the span of 5 years, right? So hopefully by the end of this year, they have a specific quota that they want to, fulfill before the end of this year, and with the next 4 years as well, they will continue doing that. But the thing is, we also have this other question of, when Britain was helping Syria, when Britain was actually helping Syria understand, or rather when Britain was helping Syria relocate, especially when they had their crisis and there were refugees, they took the same amount of Syrian refugees, right? But Afghanistan, also from Afghanistan as well, they're taking a similar amount of refugees. But the thing is, the population of Afghanistan is in fact double the population of Syria. And the United Kingdom also actively played a role in the conflict that is currently there in Afghanistan. All right. So then, there have been questions about why we're taking in only 20,000 refugees. That we definitely need to take in more than 20,000 refugees as well, right? So now what David Wallace actually said was that this new proposal was born out of the emergency, right? And the AREP scheme is not something that's time limited. And, it's not something time limited, but obviously they will stand with their obligations, and they're actually investigating on how to process people from third countries and refugee camps. All right. Now, there were actually signs that the asylum plan had not actually been very far developed on Sunday night, because Turkey actually said that it had not been approached and they would reject any approach that was made as well. All right. So, we already had Dominic Raab messing up. We already had Boris Johnson messing up, and we can't afford to have any more mess-ups in terms of evacuating these people and helping these people, because the longer it takes, the harder it is going to get for them. So it's important to keep that in mind, and make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to be heading into a small break right now, and after that we will be back to discuss this further. So until then, make sure you stay tuned.
The valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you, and that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow.